pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everybody. So, approval of agenda. I do have an amendment to it under Mayor Council Member Reports, number 7, Newcastle Ambulance Agreement / Contract.
Madam Mayor, I move to approve the amended agenda.
Second.
Okay, we have approval in second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Approval of the minutes of the regular meeting and executive session on Tuesday, January 17th, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Can I get an approval of the annual audit?
Madam Mayor, I move that we approve the annual audit.
I second it.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Any nominations for recognition? Anybody? All right, we do have one certificate of recognition for Carson Bach. He's a new business here, Wyo Auto Care. I don't see him, or is he here?
No.
We will get his certificate mailed to him then. All right, moving on, citizens business in writing. Number 1, Darren Downs, sewer forgiveness. Newcastle City Council, this letter is to ask for sewer forgiveness for the Dolby Theater located at 111 West Main Street for November 25th, 2022 and December 21st, 2022, as this location suffered a water leak both days due to plumbing issues. Thank you for your consideration. Darren Downs, Dolby Theater, LLC. And it is for $26.55.
I move we approve their refund.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oh, thank you. And all those who oppose, same sign. Citizens business number 2, Amanda Foster, sewer forgiveness, dated 1/31/23. On 1/26/23, we were notified by the city of Newcastle that in the period between 12/12/22 and 1/12/23, an unusual amount of water was being used at the above listed addresses. The reason for the water usage was due to broken water pipes at both addresses. This was caused by the recent cold weather snap that occurred in late December 2022. At the time, I was out of state due to family emergency. I was gone approximately 2 weeks and didn't discover the breaks in the water lines until the 27th, for both of the addresses mentioned above. So it is for, is this the amount for both of them?
That's the total.
Okay, so the total amount is $115.46 for the address at 514 Seneca and 222 West Main. Or 514, yeah, Seneca.
No, I move that we do forgiveness for Amanda.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Any further discussion?
I've got a question. Typically, we did the sewer forgiveness on water that's never went down the sewer. Reading this on 222 West Main, that one did find its way to the sewer, and by 14 Seneca drained into the backyard. So to make this as fair across the board that we've done with everyone else,
Oh, yeah.
I don't think the 222 West Main should be on that.
Madam Mayor, if I may, I was actually on that call, and it did run out the back door of down the alley on 222.
Instead of going down the drain that was
Yeah,
on the floor.
it was in that back shop area is where the line blew. The water pooled back there, and they had actually had opened the garage door up to let the water out.
Okay. I just wanted to stay consistent as we do with everyone else.
Any other discussion? All in favor say aye, or, yes, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Alright. Citizens business in writing, number 3. We have CMS Next Tech from Melbourne, Florida. The following requested an HVAC license. All fees have been paid. Copies of their license and proof of insurance and bond have been provided for 2023. A contractor's license, HVAC, limited mechanical license, and limited mechanical HVAC for David Rich, I don't know how to pronounce that. I apologize. Rex.
Spell it, please.
Grzech. The C is thrown down.
Madam Mayor, I move that we approve the HVAC and limited mechanical license for CMS Next Tech.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Moving on to number 4, under citizens business in writing, we have 21 electric plumbing license for additional apprentice plumbers. The following requested plumbing license for additional apprentice plumbers. All fees have been paid. Copies of their license and proof of insurance and bond have been provided for 2023. Apprentices Charles Butts, Josh Kaufman, Christopher Gray, and Colby Barner.
Your Honor, I move that we approve this licensing for 21 Electric.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. In writing, number 5, Western County Youth Services Annual Report. Youth Services continues to provide a deferral program for juveniles in Western County as an alternative to incarceration or having a permanent record. Probation, except in rare cases, is voluntary with the juvenile, parents, county attorney, and judge all in agreement. We work hand in hand with the schools in Weston County, probation and parole, county attorney, police department, the courts and Department of Family Services. We continue receiving our funding from a 3-way split between the county, city, and school district. We are beginning our 23rd year working with juveniles in the county and look forward to another year. Thank you for your support. They do have listed juveniles placed in 2022-10. Current active juveniles, they have 4. Juveniles who completed program, 3 were moved away. Juvenile who were revoked, 2. Males on probation, 3. Females on probation, 1. Juveniles cited by Newcastle Police, 8. Juveniles cited by Sheriff's Office, 0. juvenile cited by Upton Police 1, juvenile cited by Crook County 1. I guess the juvenile's place was for offenses, minor possession of alcohol 3, shoplifting 4, vaping 2, and improper cell phone usage 1. And that is their annual report. So when we get to budget and discuss that, we'll keep this in mind. In writing, number 6, Norma Shelton, resignation from the Weston County Travel Commission Board. She writes to the City Council, "It is with regret I tender my resignation from the Weston County Travel Commission Board. Thank you for the opportunity to work, to promote, and serve Weston County." Norma Shelton. I would first like to say thank you to her, because she's been on that board for a long time.
Could we give her a certificate of recognition?
I could do that.
She's been real service to this community.
More than just on the travel board.
Oh, absolutely.
I do believe that the travel commission is going to post for the open seat, is what we were told today. So once that gets put in and it runs, I'm sure we'll hear from the travel commission.
Do we need a motion to accept the resignation?
I think so, because it would appoint her to that chair. So yes.
I move that we accept Norma Shelton's resignation from the Weston County Travel Commission.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay, moving on to citizens business verbal. Number 1, Heritage Park Committee, ARPA grants.
Good evening, Dave Ehlers with the Heritage Park Steering Committee. Again, thanks for the council for allowing me some time here to speak on behalf of the Heritage Park project. As stated in the letter that you received from the Heritage Park Steering Committee, we are requesting that the council reconsider its position in ranking the submitted applications for ARPA funding they voted on in the previous meeting. It is our position that based on the category and the identification of this round of ARPA funding, that the Heritage Park project application is best suited and will undoubtedly grade higher than the other 2 applications that the city has supplied. We as a committee completely understand the council's positions of needs versus wants, and we sympathize with that position. However, under this particular ARPA funding category, specifically titled capital projects, not water sewer, the grant application submitted by the Heritage Park project will be the strongest of the applications by far, and in this particular category. And as I stated previously, it'll grade higher than the other 2 applications. So we feel that by prioritizing weaker applications, we potentially will send the SLIB a mixed message, the SLIB board, a mixed message from the city of Newcastle, which could potentially jeopardize all 3 applications. We feel that we should be putting our best horse in first place in this particular case for this specific funding. Previous rounds of ARPA funding have been out there. There was a round specifically for water and sewer projects. The city of Newcastle did apply for those funds in that round, and for various reasons, Newcastle was issued only a partial funding for that round. We feel that our project should not be penalized with a lower priority due to the fact that the other projects did not receive their funding in their own category. So to sum up, we are asking the city to reconsider their ranking position and to place the best suited application, the Heritage Park project, for this specific category of funding and make it the highest priority from the city. Now, even though the deadline is passed for the applications to be in, we had been granted permission and time to adjust our application prior to the slip board seeing that, if it is the council's pleasure to do so. Thank you, and I'm here to answer the questions.
I did ask Chuck to come in and also speak in regard to those 3 grants. If you want to kind of discuss what we talked about earlier today.
And I did get an email back from Beth Blackwell with SLIB. And I guess her first note was, I had asked the question on whether the funding was going to be separated, I think like 50 million or more, whether it was going to be separated into 3 different categories with equal amounts in each one. She doesn't know what the SLIB board is going to do. But one of her quotes here was, however, per statute, requests for water and sewer projects through the local government project ARP fund take a lower priority than the other types of applications. So our sewer projects will be a lower priority than capital and non-capital improvements.
So, have any questions?
Well, having served on the steering committee with Dave and Ann, I only wish that Dave could have been here at the last meeting, because we kind of felt blindsided. I felt blindsided that we had to rank them that evening, and I ranked them the way that I feel like they should have been ranked. But I also know that when you start playing the grant game, that if we run the risk of not getting any of the projects funded, it's kind of counterproductive to what we want to do, or I personally want to do. I don't know how the rest of the council feels. And I know that there's other funding opportunities available for the water and sewer project. But I feel personally like if the park project is going to rank the highest and have the best chance of being funded, that we should flip-flop the ranking, and then just pursue other avenues for funding for the water and sewer. So at this juncture, I'd make a motion that we...
I want to say something too.
Well, we can discuss.
Okay.
I make a motion.
I second it.
I make a motion that we re-rank the Heritage Park project number 1, with the Duff Avenue project as number 2, and the 7th Avenue project as number 3. So just kind of bump the Heritage Park up from the bottom.
Okay, we have a motion and second. Any further discussion?
I just want to say something too along that line. I totally agree with Tyrell on this. I know as a city councilman and as an elected official that the city is my number 1 priority. I understand that. But I also am under the impression that if this is going to get prioritized with us maybe not getting anything compared to us getting something, I would much prefer us to get something. So that is the Heritage Park. I'm a total believer in getting the Heritage Park. I'm also a total believer in the city getting what they need, and more need than want. The Heritage Park is more of a want. But if this is, it's like I've said over and over, if we could put it on a scale of this and that, and they were equal, I would totally vote for the city. But if it's a scale of those, the Heritage Park has a little bit higher, maybe ranking of getting this funding, that's the way I want to go. So I just wanted to say that.
Just so the council and everyone knows that out of the 3 projects, Heritage Park is the only one that we did not put money on the side for. So we would have to come up with the match. And I don't know where we would get that.
I don't believe, is there a match with it?
Actually, there is a match.
Okay.
Looking back through the grant application, with the property donated, I think that's 7%, and then with 25% or 25,000 for the feasibility study, we're at 8%. We won't, I think, we won't get any points, or we'll get 1 point. No, we won't get any points in their ranking system, but we don't have to, the city doesn't have to commit any funding at this point in time.
Okay, I keep that back.
How long have we known that this was ranked and this particular ARP funding was for projects such as your park? I would have liked to have known that when I voted on the other one the last meeting.
Well, we had to prioritize, and we didn't know that when we did
That's
that.
right, we didn't know that. That was my question. How long have we known that this money was kind of geared for public
Well,
improvement?
the first go around was for water and sewer. The second go around, they did open it up for water and sewer projects. But we didn't find out some of the information until later.
Until later, okay, well, thank you.
And I do apologize, I probably should have been more thorough with telling you a little bit more about the ARPA funds at the last meeting.
I'd second that motion. I don't think there was a second.
Yeah. Okay, any other discussion?
There was some talk too with the slip board with Blackwell that there was probably gonna be money brought in back in the backside of it
Yes.
to fund water portion of it, because there was other projects coming into, so there's still the ability to go through the slip for this other two projects.
Sure, one.
Yes.
Well, and then Chuck had provided us a scale too for drinking water and clean water, SRF funding, that would start at 1% for the first 1 to 5 years. So, I mean, personally, I would love to see Duff and 7th taken care of, but if we have the best chance of getting the money for the park project, I want to see that too.
Council, if I may, the only problem is we've been looking at this lift station since 2017 to get it replaced. It's costing us more money all the time. If something does catastrophic happen with it, you're looking at $200 a day just in pump rental, and that's only if it happens during the summer months that it wouldn't freeze. So it's a critical piece of infrastructure for the 125 homes in Great Addition.
Yeah, I live in Gray Addition.
I agree with that, but I guess this is where I go with it, is, if this side of the scale we might not get anything, or the Heritage Park ranks higher because it's for a capital.
Yes, so there was a specific, ARPA funds was specific for water and sewer in the previous round. We should have spent more time in understanding that particular application so that we could get the funding for those projects then. We shouldn't be penalized now because the work wasn't done then.
And in all fairness though, Dave, there was $246 million worth of applications put in for that $50 million pot. So, I mean, just by sheer volume, yeah, so, I mean, I think we have the best shot with the park project, and we're not gonna stop. We're still gonna put in for but it just might, we might not get the same match, but I don't think that the application is strong now that it's been explained to me. So.
Did you have something, Chuck?
Yes, can the Water and Sewer Committee meet to go over some of the priorities and possibly look at some of the other funding sources? That, I guess that's critical if you'd like to start on as soon as possible.
I'm free every day this week, so I can meet whenever.
Yeah, I'm good except for tomorrow and Thursday. Wednesday, Friday work for me.
Wednesday's good for me.
What time?
4:30 works for me.
That's fine, 4:30
4:30.
on Wednesday.
Here? Okay.
Down in the office,
Yeah, we just meet downstairs.
Okay, in which office?
in Mike's old office.
Mike's old office, okay.
Can I put you on the spot? After,
There's spot.
Who are you talking to?
Chuck,
Oh.
after talking with Blackwell, is that correct? Just so everyone is aware, is that how you would rank them?
I'd have to say yes. I think after getting, especially after the one note she made, I think the Heritage Project still has the best chance of getting any funding. Not saying that we're not going to get any sewer funding, hopefully we will, but I think there's going to be a lot of other water and sewer projects in other communities that are going to be competing for the rest of that money in this go round anyway.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Ayers, thank you for your efforts.
Council number, verbal number 2, we have Ferris Craigle, Police Department tow.
It's used in the police department.
Madam Mayor and Council, department heads, thank you for letting me speak tonight. So I come here on an issue of record rotation for the city of Newcastle. No other entity, not Highway Patrol, not Western County Sheriff's Department. City of Newcastle, and if nobody's experienced with how this works, is I have to share every other call with another record company that happens to come into dispatch. And we don't have any other record company in the city of Newcastle, and yet we appointed one out of Upton. So anybody that pays that record bill, they have to pay the mileage all the way out of Upton, the tow service, and the tow all the way back to Upton for a Newcastle call. So as somebody that is invested in this community, as I have been, okay, I'm no different than anybody else. I've been here all except for 2.5 years of my life. I sat on the council for 6 years until I moved into the county. And I'm committed to this county. I've got a lot of money invested in what I do here, but I'm not getting the support I don't feel from Newcastle. And now that I'm having to upgrade my equipment, and that's just because of highway patrol standards, and I don't get the support of Newcastle, and I have to share that. I'm not getting greedy. I don't feel I'm getting greedy, but I don't want to share that with anybody unless they're a reputable company out of Newcastle. I mean, I'm here all the time. I have a complete fleet, and I have help. So I'm just wanting to know what I can do, or if anything can be done to help resolve this on my end. Because I don't think that it's fair when I'm the only one that's here.
I wasn't aware
Is that
that
something
this
that-
A lot of people are not aware.
When did that
but-
start, Eric? Has it always been?
No.
Is it did the police?
9 months ago, roughly. But in the last 6 months, I've had to spend over $250,000 upgrading half of my fleet to be in compliance with everybody else's. And now I have to share it with somebody that can just go on Facebook and go buy something for $10,000 and be on rotation. I don't feel that that's very free.
Well,
It's not fair at all.
who made this decision?
Don't know. That's what I want to know.
So,
Me too.
So I'm sitting here asking, who put that in there? And of course, I can't look at the chief of police. He wasn't here. So,
You can
So-
look at him, all right.
what? you know, it's not, it definitely isn't his call at this point. So where did this come from? And can we do anything to straighten it out? Can we get a resolution on something like this, or is it just tough and I've got to deal with it?
Well, I think it would be up to the police department, but I mean, common sense would be who's closer, you or Upton, to the
Okay.
traffic.
You're right. So I'm gonna go back to December 20th, okay? Just as an instance. I'm just gonna give you a quick one because this is a big one that hit me hard. So I get a call at 5:30 in the morning, somebody hit a deer, mile marker 251 out by Dixon Brothers on 16. Okay, so I went out at 5:30 in the morning and I cleared that call out. I get that cleaned up within 20 minutes. 8 a.m. There's an accident on Ranch Market Drive and Highway 16. It's 11 below zero, and we have volunteer firemen. Okay, but I'm not next. I'm not the next one in line.
But it's
They've got to
far
wait.
from-
Oh, but they've got to call the next one in rotation because I just got my turn. Okay, so they got to call the next one out of Upton to come in here. We have volunteer firemen that have jobs. They have full-time jobs. And they're sitting out there for an hour and 15 minutes, 11 below zero, doing traffic control. And I can't even help. I go by and they're like, it's not me. It's not me. I'll go to the next one. I mean, that's definitely a priority. Accidents are priorities over any call. But I can't help.
Well, I think that might be something maybe to meet with the chief and discuss, because we can't make a resolution because of other businesses.
What about the county? Okay, the accident you just said was in the county, both of them.
Sure could have been.
Okay, so
But it still came through the dispatch. Okay, in which they are taking every other
my
call.
question next is it the sheriff's? Did the sheriff start this?
We don't know.
Yeah, we don't have a clue.
The chief could find out.
Yeah, we could
maybe
find
by
out
asking.
Where's the rotation come from?
Okay. Oh well, it's coming from the
The order. Who ordered
Newcastle
it?
Police Dispatch.
Well,
we went to the dispatch, they go under our policy and the sheriff's office policy when they dispatch. So I'll check with the sheriff and see what the issue is there. If the council is fine with me setting policy, I mean, I think it makes sense if we have a tow company in the city of Newcastle. And a lot of times towing is a priority. It's for the safety of the officers, the firemen. We need to get that right cleared as quickly as possible. And so if we can have somebody who can respond within a few minutes instead of 20 or 30 minutes from Upton, I think common sense would say that we should just have a tow company. If you guys cannot tow, then we call somebody else.
And I would definitely understand that. But when I don't get the call is what, so even when I've spoke to dispatch and they've said, well, you're still probably over 50%. And I'm like, I have a fleet of 8. He has 1. He can do one thing. It doesn't matter what you have. I can do it. I have 2 semis, I have 2 mediums, I have 2 lights, and a service truck. I can do anything. And I don't want to compete with that. I just can't. I've got too much money invested, and I do so much outside, and I don't want to move, and to where I've got to keep going. Everybody's shorthanded. The calls I do for Custer County, Niobrara County, Lawrence County, Crook County, because everybody's shorthanded. So I hate to lose my business here. I live here. This is my base. I mean, I might be just out of city limits, but I mean, I'm devoted to our community.
Well, I don't understand. Did this just start happening?
Yeah.
Yep.
When were you first aware of the rotation?
The first time I seen him on a call and I never got it.
Well,
What-
do
what
you have a
month
date?
is it?
Hmm?
Do you have a date? A month?
August?
August of last year?
Yeah, so here's another instance. We had the museum was renting out camping spots up behind the Animal Museum. Okay, and they do this online. A motorhome tried to make it up that approach and they just didn't quite make it. So I got the first one. 2 hours later, there's another one that tried going into the Deckers parking lot. I'm driving by, I just got back from another tow from somewhere. I fueled up, I come back downtown, and here is Officer Miles running traffic control for a motorhome pulling a vehicle in the Deckers parking lot. I'm like, I never got a call. I pull over and she said, yeah, they got somebody else coming. I'm like, oh, okay.
Well, I would say
So-
leave your information with the chief and get together and come up with
You have
it.
something to say, Bill?
Yeah, because Eric had contacted me a while, him and I talked, and I discussed with the mayor to find out when this all rotation went into effect, because there was no other towing company in town. We used to be 3, Consolidated Service, Black Hills,
Auto.
and then Carter. And those all went into a rotation all the time, because they were in Newcastle.
Correct.
Now you were the only one here, and then all of a sudden now we get someone in Upton that's got a truck to be able to do it. Somehow it got back to go into a rotation, and I feel the same way as like in Newcastle. It should be the closest one here that's supporting Newcastle to get the call, not wait for another hour and a half for the one in Deckers. But we got an officer sitting there for an hour and a half now, tied up for traffic control, which we had a company that could have taken care of that, but we have to go to being in a rotation to that. And I understand if there's another one come into town, yes, let's play the fair game of business, but there is not if we're Newcastle. So that's the reason I tried to look into it for you when you called and find out when this rotation piece went into effect.
Yep.
Was it the sheriff?
Because see, now that this had taken place, though, all of this, I haven't done one call enough. They have their guy over there. But there again, you have just a little tow like that, it's different. You have an $80 tow in town or just whatever, okay? That just moved to a $250 to a $300 tow because you have somebody running 30 miles over and 30 miles back. I mean, that, and we were $5.50 a gallon for fuel, nothing's cheap.
Yeah.
Everybody knows
I
that.
don't think anyone on the council disagrees with you, but like I said, we can't make a motion or a resolution, but I would definitely get with the chief.
But someone has to know something about this, where it started.
Right.
Well, that's where the chief.
I'm the
And that's the thing, is if
He
it's,
wasn't here.
He's
Nobody's
gonna find out.
if it's some kind of a policy where, they have to do it on a rotation to make it fair for the little guy or whatever. It should be like, the distance traveled should be a factor. So like, if there's something happening in Newcastle, you're closer, then you should get the call. If there's something that happened 5 miles out of Upton, then he should be able to get that call unless he's not available, right?
Absolutely.
So, I mean, that would be fair, right?
Yep.
So,
Let's let the chief go and.
Yeah.
we gotta find the root of the problem first, I guess.
But I would definitely like any consideration because I just I don't get any outside funding. I don't get nothing. Everything goes out of. It all started out of my retirement, so I'm just trying to pay myself back.
So you never got a call for Upton, huh?
No.
You can give me your number and I'll get a hold of you tomorrow.
Yeah, I find it out.
Let you
Absolutely.
know.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
To our attention.
Alright. Any other questions?
Yeah.
No, thank you, Eric.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
Citizens Business Verbal number 3, Henry Nessel, Newcastle Chamber.
I appreciate it. You got it, my friend.
No, I'm still trying to make it up. Madam Mayor, City Council, department heads, thank you for allowing me time on your agenda this evening. My name is Henry Nessel. I'm here to introduce myself. I am the new president of the Chamber of Commerce. Now, recently, there was a lot of turbulence in November of 22, and that turbulence is over, and your chamber is here. In December, your board of directors, under the guidance of Megan and Garrett, kept a promise to the community. The Parade of Lights presented a successful party for Newcastle and the community. Santa's Throne was hosted by Antlers, and all attending had a great time. In January 2023, the new board of directors was elected and seated. The board has 7 members. One position at this time is vacant. One had to resign as a potential conflict of interest. So we're looking for a board member. The current executive team of treasurer is Ashton Barnesworth, secretary Melissa Hammond, vice president James Kern, and myself, Henry Nessel, as president. Understand that we are volunteers working our businesses or for our employers and have taken on these duties in addition to our work and home life. Now, February 11th, we were supposed to have an annual dinner. That dinner had to be postponed and a new date is to be announced. The dinner's planning became entangled with the turmoil that occurred. I am planning a March 17th St. Patrick's Day mixer. It will be held at the Fairgrounds Event Center. More information will be coming very soon. And this will not be a cluttered event with a lot of distractions. I'm holding it with the sole purpose to get business, residents, and chamber to meet, talk, and get acquainted with each other again so we can all restart your chamber working together as a community. So keep your eye on our Facebook page and hopefully on our website to get more information, but I will make sure you'll get a letter when it's time. As a chamber, we are reforming. The bylaws of the chambers and policies and procedures documents are being reviewed and updated. The bylaws and policies and procedures are dated 2015, so it's been 8 years. It's time. We are developing core hours to have the chamber building open and staffed to greet visitors. Trustee Director Morgan is developing a volunteer program to have building staffing when the employee will be off duty or attending needed events outside the chamber office. This is going to be a difficult task, but she took it on. Remember, this is your chamber. We are working for you, our businesses, and our community. And your help will be needed to make it all work. Board of Director members, we are preparing an ad right now to advertise for a new part-time position. The resignee, and we need a new staff officer. Now, something that occurred last meeting. The Board of Directors updated the chamber motto. The motto was Gateway to the Black Hills. Personally, I saw a gateway as being a way of passing through Newcastle and keeping on going. So I asked the chamber to change the motto, and by unanimous vote they did. The new motto is Making Newcastle a Destination. And I brought this up because I got a letter from a gentleman in Georgia that was looking to come out this way, and I thought, make us the hub. Make us the hub for your visits to the different attractions, whether it be Mount Rushmore, Devil's Tower, Mammoth Site, the Grasslands, the Black Hills. We're in the center. So make us the destination so you can visit all these. A board member has also taken over updating our Facebook page and keeping it current. So you'll find members' meetings and other event planning on the Facebook page at this time. We will be expanding this, but as I say, we're reforming and regrouping. So at the moment, Facebook's our primary social media. I have talked to another resident in town that has offered their services, and they've had training in demographics and use of the other social media platforms. I'll continue those chats with her. Other than that, we are moving forward. We ask everyone that is willing to join us. Support the Newcastle area and community. Remember to keep your eyes on our Facebook page, but most of all, come to meetings. If you don't, I don't know your voice. If you do, I know your voice in Newcastle. Looking forward to working with all of you very soon. I'd like to thank you very much. At least tonight, I didn't come asking for money. I know eventually I will, but right now I just wanted to update you and introduce myself on what's happening at the chamber. So thank you.
Appreciate it. And I'm excited to see what a new board and a new direction can take us.
Yeah, this was a lot better communication than we've gotten for some time, so it was good to see your face.
I don't want to go there. If you have questions, I'm reachable. I do have a small business 12 miles outside of town. I live up on Sweetwater Mountain. My business is there. But I'm in town every day. So if you need to reach me, do so. We're still getting things turned on again. Been having a lot of trouble with range on the password for the voicemail, so I'm still working on getting that one finished out so we can clear the current voicemail and start business over.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry.
Moving on to mayor council member reports. Number 1 is water, wastewater operators proclamation. Whereas Wyoming's professional operators protect public health by removing contaminants from our drinking water, deliver safe drinking water to our taps, efficiently delivering wastewater to treatment facilities, and currently treating wastewater. And whereas Wyoming's professional operators preserve the high quality of Wyoming's lakes, rivers, and streams by ensuring the proper treatment of wastewater. And whereas Wyoming professional operators properly operate and maintain water and wastewater equipment and facilities, ensuring the longevity of one of the state's largest infrastructure investments. And whereas clean, safe drinking water and our pristine natural environment is central to our quality of life and Wyoming's future. And whereas it is fitting to recognize and honor the work of our professional operators in protecting the public's health, our environment and water resource, and the water and wastewater infrastructure of Wyoming. Now, therefore, I, Pam Walteri, Mayor of Newcastle, Wyoming, do hereby proclaim February 6th through the 13th of 2023 as Wyoming Professional Water and Wastewater Operators Week. Thank you, Greg. Please make sure you tell your staff. Thank you. Tree Advisory Board?
I sit on the tree advisory board, Madam Mayor.
Okay.
They just had some questions about how to appoint another member. So there was a bunch of email traffic between Clerk Haggerty and Dublin. But they found somebody else that was willing to sit on the board. So they wanted to know what they needed to do with the council to get somebody put on the board. And it sounds like we're allowed to appoint our own members. So they're going to invite, his name's escaping me right now. Archie Callender, I think, is who they're inviting to be on the board. And then, yeah, anyway, they just wanted to make sure they were doing things by the appropriate channels. And then they also, we've had difficulty getting support. So that's why I had originally volunteered to be on the tree advisory board. So now we found somebody who's willing to be on there, so I think we're going to try to get them appointed next meeting. And that's all I have.
Mayor, council member reports number 3, resignation of building inspector, planning and zoning administrator. To the mayor and council members, I would first like to say thank you for the recent review and wage increase. Unfortunately, I will be ending my employment with the city as of 1/27/2023. I would like to thank the council for giving the opportunity to be the city's building inspector. It has been a really good job, and I have learned far more than I ever thought I would. I would also like to thank all of you that made it possible for me to be the planning and zoning administrator. It had some challenges, but in the end, rewarding. Thanks again, everyone. You're all doing a wonderful job with the city. I have offered Mayor Pam my services to help train the new building inspector and to help out whenever needed. Thanks again, sincerely, Adam McFarland. Adam also did speak with me about maybe part-time or as needed. So I don't know what you guys think or thoughts about that.
We're definitely gonna need somebody to work in some capacity in the interim while we're trying to find another building inspector, so I don't see why on a part-time basis he shouldn't.
Well, kind of like an on-call basis, because he is working somewhere else now.
Yeah, so I mean, it would only make sense to have somebody available if we needed them. So personally, I think it's an alright idea while we're looking for somebody else.
So I would probably need a motion to accept his resignation, but also to have him on an on-call basis.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I guess my question would be, would he be at the same wage? Hourly?
Good question. Make him an offer.
Well, I just don't know if we're gonna do hourly, or we saw how some other towns are doing it by per call.
Oh, that's what they give you call.
I don't have that with me. I think it was, I don't know if it was more than, or.
It was like $50 a call or something like that.
Yeah.
We'd need to add that to the motion. I mean, he was already working an hourly wage, so it would just seem to make sense to just pay him the hourly wage that we just authorized them to get.
There's some that's $500 a month, and then there were some of them that were doing $100 per inspection or $25 for plan review.
But put that into your motion, is payment we've always been paying.
All right, I would amend my motion that we accept building inspector Adams McFarland's resignation, and also allow him to work hourly at the wage that we had been paying him as needed during the interim while we're trying to find another building inspector.
I think if we offered him $50, he wouldn't come. You know, if we figure out a way to not show up. So we'd at least pay him what he was getting.
Updated the motion.
All right, we have updated or an amended motion and seconded. Any other further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Moving on to number 4, city administrator's job description. So I know the personnel committee met. If you guys would like to discuss.
Madam Mayor, the personnel committee did meet and discuss this particular item. Put together kind of a job description and gave you guys a summary based on some of the stuff that Ty had gotten from other locations. I took out some of the information that was in them. The job descriptions were in there that stated that the administrator basically ran the city, and all the other department heads were under that city administrator. I didn't feel that this position warranted that, or I felt the department heads needed to be their own administrators, basically, of that, and that this city administrator that we're looking for is basically information funnel all this up to if they needed to work on admin pieces of it. Could be policies, procedures and that to work through. Mainly to get grants and that for us, but able to not necessarily as running the whole city as some of these others were laid out. And obviously that's can be changed. This is just a draft to look through, and none of this is set in stone. So some things in there when I went through some of the other administrative pieces I put in there specifically to us. As you see in the number 1 and number 2 bullets in there was to create grants on behalf of the city, and which I've asked for many times for the last few years on creating a strategic plan for the city of Newcastle. I think this is very important that we have a strategic plan and something that, whether it be 5 years out, of some type of a planning purpose that we're supposed to be here for, so we can try to grab grants for future projects. We see these projects all over the place that we're trying to work on, from 7th Avenue, Duff and all that, and it just keeps coming into one ball, and how are we gonna put that in a strategic plan? So that was my second bullet piece put into this, or third bullet in it. Going down, working on the state and federal agencies, obviously that pertains to our landfill closures, landfill number 1 remediation, our lagoon discharge permitting that's going to be coming up that we need to make sure is addressed now that we've got the cell 1, the second cell cleaned out. Now we've got to worry about the discharge permitting that was addressed when TEQ was up here during that process. So as I said, there's a lot of information in here to read over, and obviously none of this is set in stone, and any of this can take a red pen and start crossing out or adding to, but at least it gives us a starting point to kind of give what we want to look for a person for this position. Also, I did talk to Stacy that there is a job fair in Rapid City in March that we probably really need to try to get some people to, not only for workers for the city. I don't know if that might be an outlet for officers, but obviously city administrator, like what's out there. There's plenty of intern engineers that's just going to be coming out of college, especially over there in Rapid, at School of Mines. It might be a perfect fit, but not necessarily having to be an engineer for this position. So it's up to you guys on how we want to move forward with this.
So I have a question, Don. Is that what you as a committee have decided that route that we're going to go with city administrator?
What I've gotten with our committee is we want to go through a city administrator, because other places that I've checked into, like Ty did, I did get in touch with Kelly Millar and Mark Lindstrom and up there to kind of get some feedback off of their layout for a job summary for what they do there. They don't have an engineer, and really Mark is kind of their administrator, but they really don't have an administrator laid out. But they use Bear Lodge Engineering and other engineering firms to do all of their engineering work, just similar to what we're doing right now.
So that's what we would continue to do.
We got a lot of work and everything, an engineer could
What will
probably
Chuck
do.
do if we do that?
Retire.
And that's what we've got to look for is, we're not going to have Chuck for forever in here helping us. So, I do appreciate him being in here to help with the grant writing and our day-to-day stuff that we're doing, but we've got to spend our time to be able to backfill it, because I know you want to eventually go on your way.
He told me today it's our full-time job.
So, as a fairly long-standing city employee, my biggest hang-up was that our engineer really didn't ever do any engineering. We had an engineer in the past that it was cocktail napkins, cocktail napkin plans. The last engineer, I didn't feel like he really did any engineering, so I thought that the city administrator position would be a really good fit for our town, and that's why I was looking into it. And I'd seen them work successfully in other towns that I visited through my work. So I thought what Don did, he pulled out all the high points, and then when we were discussing, I sat in for Ann at the committee, that maybe making the administrator so they weren't all powerful and they still needed to collaborate with the department heads, and then just maybe we're a second set of eyes if there came some reports that were due or something, just a fail safe so that the department heads could be reminded if they missed something. But like a close collaboration with the city administrator, but still maintaining their sovereignty, I guess, of their department.
So what's the long term? Are we to look this over and?
I would say look it over, and then on the 21st, is that the next meeting?
21st, yes.
So I think if there's maybe stuff you would like to change or add, email.
And then get the word out.
Yeah. So,
Because I think the sooner we get on this, the better, right?
Yeah, this is needed done for a couple months, I think.
any other questions on this? So can you put this on for full business next meeting? Wages for city hall employees.
On the next one, while we was having our personnel meeting, we kind of went through the same thing, that been going through, started out with public works, kind of reviewed their wages through all of the public work positions. Same way with the chief, we went through and kind of did their raises through that. We've gotten some kind of cost and stuff, what wages were through almost the same areas that we did with the public works with Sundance, Upton, and Lusk. When we were on the lower side, obviously, and there was some other rooms for improvement, talking with the committee that we had that night, kind of felt we'd stay in that same realm that we've kind of been doing across the board with the other two parts of the city pieces in here. And we recommend that that we'd give a raise to each one of the office gals, Stacy, Becky, and Heather, a $2 an hour raise. With that $2 an hour raise, at a normal 2,080 hour per year, that's given $4,000 raise per year for all three. So basically, that's $12,000 a year for all three that we're given throughout the year that we're going to be having to come out, with the budget to cover. So that's $1,000.40 a month.
No, I know.
$300 per person, basically, with that phrase for.
Conflict of interest, do we have that?
Of course we do.
That's my conflict of interest.
We need our auditor back, right? But I would propose that we do a $2 an hour raise for the girls in the office.
Is that a motion?
Yes, I would make that motion.
Second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay. Moving on to number 6, dispatch. Dispatch. So I met with the chief and with Stacy, and we did some talking. There's been a lot of things being said around the community, but we've never really put out our word. So some of the things that I've been hearing is that we're refusing to move, which is not true. We're not refusing to move. We were delayed with the issue with an agreement or an easement or a contract that we tried working on since April. I'm not 100% sure, but did we find a different solution?
We're getting close.
Okay, so that's one of the reasons why we couldn't move. Another thing was they wanted us to move the inventory or the evidence, and the chief was not here, and I am not certified to touch and move evidence. So after talking with Post and the Sheriff and Chief Association, with everything that's been going on in our police department, it's very vital that we do a true audit of the evidence. So as they're moving, they're working on doing that audit. We had to wait for locks and we had to wait for cameras, so it wasn't we're refusing, we were waiting. So.
Have we done with the remodel? Is it?
I think it's
Very close.
It's ready,
We have a
but
couple little things to do, but we're very close.
Can we get a tour?
When it's all done.
So, I mean, they're just waiting on that one issue so that we can start setting up dispatch and all of that over there. In regards to moving, I do know, we did talk about at one time hiring like a group of one of the groups from the school, maybe the football team or however that works, to move the desk and the cabinets and things to that factor. And I can't remember if we were talking 2,000 or 3,000, but I would like to figure that out and make that motion so they can start moving that stuff.
Have you talked to anybody about helping you do that move from the school?
The mayor.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay. So we got a group.
We will have a group, but I can't tell them yes or no until
How much money you
we
want to
say
give
yes
them
or
there?
no.
Well, you talked to them. What
I
they,
can't remember what we said.
I think we originally talked about $2,000.
That's what I was thinking, was the
Yeah.
2,000 was come up in the meeting.
well, that's a very good idea.
Now, when I did speak with, actually I spoke with Coach Conselman, he said that, you know, if you would get a group together, it might be some from the basketball team, wrestling team, football team, and he would make sure that the funds were divvied out towards each of the entities at the school. So, but, I don't know.
I would make a motion that we make a $2,000 donation to people from the school that are willing to help with the move from the Weston County Law Enforcement Complex to the new police department.
I second
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. I'll get you Coach Conselman's information. I know he probably would like to do a walkthrough to see what it is that needs to be moved and what equipment they need to bring.
Sounds good.
Some of the other stuff that was stated that I'd like to clarify, and if I'm stating it wrong, if you could also help with clarifying. They talked about how their charge is now different than from what they used to pay, and they said that they had no knowledge of this, which the information that we gave to them showed them all of our communication via email, minutes from their own meetings, our meetings.
To whom did you
the
give this
commissioners.
information?
When we gave you guys all got a copy of it.
Okay.
And it was a letter that we sent over to the commissioners, plus
Okay, so
the
that's
sheriff.
right to
plus-
them.
Yes. And when they stated that they had no prior knowledge. They were given prior knowledge since April that things were going to change. And then we did what we were supposed to do and gave them notice. And how many days was that, 60?
I think it was 60 days, and it would have started the new bill in November, if I'm correct.
Correct. In November. Stuff that came about was that they weren't being charged correctly. The chief, Stacy, and I sat down together. We did review, and they are correct. There was some errors on our end, but we do have them corrected for December, and we'll go back and fix November. So, it was a layout that was done prior to Stacy taking her seat, the chief, and myself. So, but we had a mistake, and we're going to correct it. Some of the other stuff was that we weren't being transparent, which we were. I think there was some lack of communication between maybe the county attorneys and the commissioners. I don't know that for sure, but that was out there. There was something else. What was the other thing we talked about? Something that was in the paper. Let me find it really quick. In the paper, it stated that Colbard said that we were threatening to shut off their utilities and water. That is not the truth. We actually hand-delivered all of their invoices to make sure that they did get their payment in on time, because if you see how they bill, it's one big thing and one big check. But if you want to explain that aspect of the utilities.
Yeah, so yes, we received one big check for everything. Unfortunately, the county always pays almost 2 months behind. So when little hiccups happen and they don't have their payment on time for the past due payment, then they get to the point of being in violation of our ordinance, which is over 45 days past due. So to avoid that, for some reason, I'm not sure why, when we talked to the clerk at the county, we needed to resubmit all of their vouchers for all of their entities. So obviously with mail time, that would have caused more of a late fee. Therefore, Becky hand-delivered each one of those entities their new voucher so they could have it on time.
Councilman Stevenson has some prepared here, and he's even got stuff highlighted.
Go for it. Well, I had it too.
Well, some of the things that she has touched on, and I think it needed to be very important that okay, go ahead now.
Okay. We did write E911 funds on their first bill, which is incorrect. It's actually CenturyLink.
Which is a E91 function, but for them,
yeah, because we do receive E911 funds, but then this is a different thing, and so we wanted to make sure that it was stated that it is CenturyLink. It's not what the state gives, so it's different. And we will clarify that with them, and we will make sure it's changed to CenturyLink. Sorry, go ahead.
No, just when I was reading the information in the paper and kind of got irritated about some of the wrong stuff again being submitted to the county commissioners through our sheriff and sometimes through our Homeland Security Director that feeds them guys false information. And I think it's about time that we at least create our point of this, that we've never been on the backside of not being up front. We just not have been very good about telling our side of the story very well and keeping this out in front. Now, when I read in this, the sheriff kind of puts in there that kind of a scare tactics that if they're gonna bill us for literally everything they do in here, that he quotes here, that their fear is that they're not gonna call into dispatch. What I understand from dispatch, every time they call on the radio is not a call for service. Is when they get called to go to a potential call, that's a call for service for that entity. We've had these discussions with all of these entities that gets dispatched for many years. I've been into some of these dispatch meetings since 2014. I put together the first numbers together for the county in our annex in 2014 when they wanted to start talking about dispatch calls and what people should be paying for dispatch, because the city's been paying a big portion of this for many years and never griped about any of the other entities not paying their fair share. When those numbers were first presented to the county commissioners, they basically at that meeting said, we probably better hold off, we're getting a good deal. They've just kept pushing this over and over about, if you don't do this, if you don't do that, we're gonna kick you out of this building. They've just been holding that over our head. I've been here long enough that the county commissioners have done this with the fire department many years ago and kept pushing that they were gonna kick us out of the fire department until it came to a head. When they come in here, when they keep reading these stories about false information that keeps given to these county commissioners, and they keep soaking it up, and it just irritates me that you got one county commissioner that's on that board that wrote a check for dispatch equipment that paid for our radio services for over $300,000, I believe. And that person won't speak up at the county commissioner meeting and say, hey, I paid for that equipment when I was mayor. And I just think that they're holding their hands under their chair and not speaking up to properly what's being presented to them paper-wise. And like the mayor said, in the letter, Colvard says he suggests that the city council should discuss the increase with the county commissioners before the budget session. Documentation over documentation has been sent to the county commissioners and to the county attorney several times, which the county attorney several times just sits on their hand again, will not respond back to us. And it just gets irritating that it comes back to the city's fault, not back onto them. They will not respond back to instances like this given back to them, but they'll put it in the paper that they did not know about it. So I just get a little irritated that they feed all this false information to the county commissioners, and we get documentation over documentation that's not right.
I also believe that at the April meeting, was it, man? That we were tasked with providing the board of the county commissioners with kind of a contract for service. So the mayor went back, prepared a contract. It was provided for the board of the county commissioners, and they never even tried to negotiate the contract. Gave it to them, they threw it on the desk, and they didn't even look at it. It didn't seem. So when we were provided with the task, we came through on our end, and then the county commissioners didn't even seem to really entertain or even try to have a dialogue about what was contained in the contract for service. So, in the spirit of open communication, at least pick it up and read it. And if you don't like something that's in there, you don't like the verbiage, then you come back with a counter offer. It's called talking, it's called communication, and it's something that's been sorely lacking between the two entities for a really long time. I was approached by a county commissioner while I was looking at the bacon section in Decker's the other day, and we had a long conversation, but there's been a lot of meetings. It's been going on for a long time. I personally don't think the 2 dispatches is the answer to any of our problems, and at the expense of the taxpayers in our community, in our county, which Newcastle is in the county. We're all in it together. Upton, Osage, and Newcastle, we're all in the county. So I think that we just need to get this figured out, and I'd love it if the 2 organizations could start having some dialogue and some positive interaction.
The chief, myself, and Stacy, when we were working over the billing aspect of it, we did talk about, maybe sending an email out and setting up a special meeting just to discuss and explain and show, because this doesn't tell me anything. They need to see it and ask questions. So I will be sending out an email tomorrow to ask, pick a couple dates, and then obviously we'll let the paper know and get it posted, and hopefully have a special meeting to where a lot of this can be clarified and there's no miscommunication. There is one thing I would like to clarify. There was one thing that we did not come through with, and that was to show the updates with the CIS system. No matter what the situation is, we did need a new server. The server, I think, was from early 2000, and it got to the point where it's like, we're not going to set up the new server until we set it up in the new building. So that is one thing I do want to clarify, that we weren't able.
That came up in my conversation, and that is one question that I couldn't answer, because if the county can't see what CIS has to offer and they can't see it work, then it's pretty difficult for them to agree to use software that they haven't even seen work.
Well,
so that's a very valid point.
Yeah, we did ask quite a bit of different people in different police departments and stuff about the Spillman. Do you want to elaborate on that?
Before I got here, I didn't really know much about Stillman and all the different ones that are out there. But the random people that I've talked to who do have knowledge of that, every one of them says Stillman is very expensive and you will waste a lot of money. And that's not me prompting them to say anything, because I really don't know. That's what probably half a dozen or more people have told me. So, and they said, every one of them almost says the same exact thing. I would stay away from that because you'll spend a lot of money.
So that's a good point too, Chief. Being the son of a retired police chief for this community, my father was trying to work within a budget, and he was trying to replace equipment as he needed, and he was trying to do it the right way, and it's just turned into a giant fight over which software somebody wants to use and their reasons why. And so it seems like it's just kind of spiraled out of control, and now we're at the place where we're at. So
we want to test out something that's free before we have to purchase something.
That costs a lot of money. Yeah.
I don't know if I got everything covered that I had highlighted and written down, but if anybody has any questions, ask us. We're going to try to be more transparent. Hopefully they agree to a special meeting and we can get clarification so all parties are on the same page. So,
very good.
Anything else on dispatch?
I just have one last thing to add. I just think that since we haven't been as vocal about why we have been making some of the decisions, that it's cast the city council in a negative light, and the more vocal entity who's been talking to all the papers in our county and everything has really been telling their side of the story, and we've been quiet. And it actually feels good at this meeting right now to be able to clear the air a little bit. And that's all I have.
And I'm just tired of being on the front page of the newsletter journal every day.
You know, as a taxpayer, I've said this to a few other people back at the time too, when this kind of first got blown up. Many years ago, I was here when that law enforcement building was built. It was sent to the voters of this county that this was going to be a joint dispatch center. We got the grants and the bonds and everything to build that. This was one of the buildings out of many that was being done besides the airport, the fairgrounds, the county shop, the fire hall was kind of coming in after some of these other grants that come in. But the voters were told that this was going to be a joint dispatch center. We can combine all of our law enforcement into one agency and not have to spend money for what we're going to be having now for the police department in one location, because it used to be here. The jail and everything used to be in this building. And then now we're splitting it back up again. You know, to me, in my mind, now we've doubled again on the taxpayers that we told them this was going to be a joint dispatch center. And just because the county has pushed this many times over time, this is our building, and if you don't want to do it our way, we're going to kick you out. And it's just, to me, it's bad that, you know, for a taxpayer on how all of us have done the overriding what should have been left alone.
To add something to that, as you said, it was supposed to be a joint.
Mm-hmm.
It did turn up, I can't remember what sheriff it was, but it might have been
Donnie
Howell, who turned it over to the city. So then it became just the city's dispatch. So I want to make that clear, because that's some of the research we got.
How did this start? I mean, who voted to split it?
Split, like move?
Yes.
Well, we as a council made a motion to move our police department for many reasons. Public safety, work safety for our employees. I don't want to say hostile work environment, but close to it. The threats of always being told by commissioners, and we have a letter, I don't know if I brought that up, that at the time it was Chairman Marty Ertman telling us it's either this or we'll evict you. And that's enough. It's, you know, I did not work here when it was built, but I did work in there in 2008, 9, 10, and we were being threatened at that time too. She just handed me the letter that was dated September 9, 2021. Give me a second to find it and I'll read what was written.
I'm just saying, Pam, it's a cost to all of us. Why did only so many of you get to vote for it? I mean, and I understand, but there was no vote.
You have Commissioner Taylor making a statement that 2 dispatches is the wrong move, but we've made moves that we can't turn back. So that's from your commissioner stated in the paper.
I'm just saying, as for the public, you know, we are supposed to come to these meetings. We're supposed to, we want to hear our comments. I was at that commissioner meeting. There was 35 of us in that room that day. We went around and they asked how many of us wanted 2 dispatches. Not a one of us said yes.
Well, the city council did not say yes to 2 dispatches. We were just relocating dispatch. It was the commissioners that voted on buying new equipment, and now they think they've gone too far that they can't turn back, and it's stated in the paper. So you need to ask the commissioners why they're doing a second dispatch.
I've been there, done that.
We have 2.
They also, the moving of the police department out of the law enforcement complex, both entities agreed that it kind of needed to happen. just based on, you know, the environment and the constant infighting and everything. So it was like, you know,
It was too small.
yeah, so we opted, you know, in good faith to relocate, to try to work on the relationship. I guess, you know, it'd be like a good way to compare would be, you know, a bad relationship, any kind of relationship, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, where they just needed two separate domiciles. And so we thought that, you know, some distance, them handling the jail and taking the prisoners, and us handling business and conducting, you know, dispatch out of our building would kind of alleviate some of the infighting. And so that was the idea behind it. And now we just can't get moved. Some of it's logistics, and you know, it would help if the county would help, you know, maybe facilitate some of the things that are going on so that we can make our move. But that's all I have to say about that.
Okay. I think I found those. So if anybody wants a copy of this letter, we could get the one, with public information. It says, there appears to be no update to this agreement since its expiration, although it appears that parties have continued to generally operate within the confines of the 2006 agreement until present. That expired agreement provided that the county may terminate the agreement without cause at any time by giving the city a notice to vacate the law enforcement center. Further, the city shall have 180 days from the receipt of such agreement or notice to vacate the law enforcement center. The county absent some newly negotiated county and city law enforcement agreement, which addresses the county's concerns and needs, would expect the city to vacate the space no later than March 8, 2022. So.
I was one of those citizens that heard what this was the law enforcement center. I think we should look back at the funding of that whole building.
It was grants.
But the city helped us apply for and get those grants.
The city had to do a deed of the property to the county because the county did the grant, but the city paid half of its part.
Well, and I think we paid for a lot of it. I think that's as much our building as it is the county's, is what I'm trying to say here. It was a law enforcement center. No one ever said it was the sheriff's building.
I don't know.
It never came up while we were voting for the...
I just want us all to get along.
Yeah.
I just want to work with the county. I want to have a good working relationship with the county. I want us to be able to work together to do great things in our county, in our city. I just don't understand why this has to be such a point of contention.
Well,
I just want us to get it fixed.
Hopefully the special meeting will help. They do have new commissioners, and I think sitting down and discussing in a special meeting can help take down those walls.
I hope so.
I hope so too.
We have wonderful new councilmen too.
Yes.
Walter has some.
Yes, Walter.
Yes, I'm going to speak first as a citizen, then I'm going to put my newspaper hat back on. But the first thing I have to say does not come from the newsletter journal. But it comes from where I hear everything because of what's written. And I'm not the one who writes that. You guys know that. I'm just infrastructure so that it can be written. Coming out and making the statements that I have heard here right now, I think is going to do a lot in helping things along. And it has to continue. Personal opinion. You've been quiet. That has not looked good. Again, that's my own personal opinion. As a newspaper person, now I'm putting that hat back on. I want to go ahead when you do get a special meeting, and we have a member of the county watching right now. So they're gonna know this. I want to be there, make it go live. I do not know how y'all feel exactly, because actually every time I've been here, even before I started doing these live, I saw things in and of itself be civil in this building. It wasn't always so necessarily when I'd go to the county. But now that this has been going on, it has become more civil, because now they're seen in front of the people. They don't get the citizen participation that they used to before this was going on. I really wish the citizens would be filling this room, filling that room. But I want to be there to make a special meeting go live. I think it would be more civil, and I think people would be working together better. Personal, and I think that would be the opinion of the newsletter. I think I can safely say that. But thank you for opening up on this. That's been missing.
Well, as soon as we get that email out to the date and it's accepted, we will get in touch with the paper.
Good. You have my email too?
I do believe so.
Okay.
I can copy the newspaper on the email. I'll just do that. Any other discussion? I know I'm probably missing a couple things. Is there anything else that we talked about? Oh, there is one thing. I'm sorry. So there was a comment about charges for assisting another agency. Of course, you know, I would definitely want someone to show up if I'm pulling over someone and officer safety. So we went back and we were looking at those as well. And there were some that definitely should not have been charged, and there are some that should be charged. So that was another thing that was stated in the paper, and I just want to make sure, you know, we let people know that we make mistakes too, and there was some in there, and we went back and looked at it and are going to correct it.
The difference in our billing from what we corrected is $521.08.
I'd also like to take a moment to thank the sheriff's office for providing support while we were transitioning to the new chief and providing personnel and coverage in the city of Newcastle. That was great. That was a wonderful example of how the two entities need to work together.
Thank you. I was going to say that too. I had it underlined. No, the sheriff was definitely helpful in a lot of the things that we had to go to him for before we got a chief and stuff. So I am thankful for that. Anything else? Okay. Number 7, regarding the Newcastle Ambulance Service Agreement and Contract. Dublin has put one together. I will get it emailed out to everyone. And I did invite I had Stacy send out an email to invite the ambulance service to our next meeting to discuss this contract agreement. What did it mean turn out to be? So that's all I have on that. So on the 21st, our meeting's on the 21st Tuesday because of President's Day, right? Is it President's Day? So it will be a Tuesday, and hopefully they're able to attend. All right. Moving on to old business, application for zoning amendment. That was for that guy for the gym. Do we have an update from him?
I haven't seen anything.
Okay, but he has been advised that a letter was given to him that the zoning would be adjusted per his qualification.
Right.
Okay. South Summit parking, no parking. I know you guys met about that.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I inappropriately went to the the streets committee meeting. I didn't realize that I'd been replaced with Tom Boss.
I appropriately left the meeting so that we wouldn't be.
Yeah, we didn't want to be in violation and have a quorum, so Tom left. But the streets committee wanted to. Well, I've been on the committee for 2 years. Anyway, old habits die hard.
It was an honest mistake.
Plus, I fixed a lot of these streets for years. So, the streets committee wanted to stick to our no parking next to Little Ones Daycare. We tried to take into account everybody's feelings about the issue. We still want to address the safety issue with people trying to get in and out of that parking lot. And it's only 3 spaces that are in contention. So the owner of Little Ones Daycare said that she is open to the idea of overflow for the church, being able to park in her lot on the weekends if the concerned parties reach out to her. She felt, I spoke with her today, she felt like it was an understanding between her and the church that they were allowed to use her parking during the winter or during Sundays or weekends and after business hours during the week, that they're allowed to use it if they need it. But I'll talk to the parties involved and let them know of what Amanda said. Yeah, so that's all I have to speak about that. I miss
Did we
anything?
get a solution?
We're gonna leave it as is, man.
Okay.
And isn't there new signage?
The new signage is there. It's already set. We have the signs. We don't want to move them.
So no parking.
No parking. It's gonna stay no parking.
And we're gonna
And,
put that
and PD is enforcing this?
They will.
That's the next question.
So-
Because I've got numerous calls.
Have you?
And I'm like, I can't touch anything. I mean, if it's signed, but that's on their private property. So now that it's street signed.
We'll enforce it.
Yeah, it's a city.
Okay, so if they call, it's.
If they call you
Okay.
because there's a car in their parking lot, that's not the police.
That is correct, because that is their private
Just
property.
the street. Yep, it would be just the street.
But where it's signed on the street.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's all I have to report.
Okay. Moving on to old business cemetery.
Madam Mayor, the cemetery committee met and discussed the issue from This Is Good. We do have the ability to waive the need for a box. We did come up with some stipulations involved with it. We'll be sending out a letter after this meeting to inform her of the stipulations. One was no embalming, natural burial with a wooden casket.
Thank you. Moving on to department head reports, Public Works Supervisor Grayson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Are there any questions first off from the reports?
The only thing that I had, Greg, was for our cemetery committee meeting, was to just put emphasis on the fact that we only have 45 sellable lots, and that we really need to, as long as the city owns the cemetery, need to look into expansion, which the Public Works has been looking into ideas for expansion, and we were given a lot of good ideas with the cemetery committee, but we're running out of space fast, so it's something that needs to be addressed in the near future.
Yes, and the master plan was presented to the committee. I would like to ask another committee meeting with the cemetery committee to further that discussion as well as the ordinances.
On on your, are we still up, we have to talk about cemetery, or we can talk about any of this? Okay, well, it said here, on the soccer field drainage, you hauled a culvert over there, and then you have contracted a contractor to install a culvert?
580 feet of culvert, so it's not just one culvert.
Oh, okay.
There's quite a bit, it's a pretty extensive job. Pretty extensive project. Is that? Yeah, 24-inch culverts coming down the side of the soccer field and across.
Okay, and we, the city can't do that?
Not currently, no. We've got enough projects going on right now. This one's a little bit bigger than we need to take on right now.
Okay, thank you.
I have something for you, Greg. What about the Ackley house?
Oh, that's coming up with.
I mean, we can talk about it now.
Yeah.
In regard to, it's Teresa Ackley, correct?
Correct.
I think I have called who would be the power of attorney for her 3 different times without a response. I know that, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Greg, I don't know if you're apprised of everything, but Mike and I had basically gone through the abatement of dangerous buildings and the code that you have to have, and I know that you and I have talked about this prior, and I know you've had the newest version, I think. The notice, I think, was sent out, I want to say in August. So by now that would have been ample time in terms of notice for that property because it is dangerous and there's ash and all likelihood some other things floating around. So I think, and I don't know if we still have that basically with the notices around the house basically covered off.
If I may,
Go ahead.
I redirected this problem to Chuck Bartlett.
I don't believe the letter that Mike wrote ever got sent. That's why I rewrote the letter and sent that back up to you.
Okay. So the letter, in terms of the letter that was to give notice to Teresa Ackley of her state? Okay. I think that would have been sent out.
Well, we talked about it because he had the address for that house.
You had it wrong.
And so it was for where she's living now. But I'm pretty sure you mailed that out.
Yeah. Well, I think it would have given notice, but I'll just make sure that actually
I
it
cannot
was
find a
sent.
signed copy anyplace, put it that way.
But on top of it, I also haven't got any sort of call back from anyone actually regarding that property. I know you guys have been getting calls about it, at least from what I've been told. So what I'll do is I'll make sure that that was sent out. I'm positive that it was, but I'll have to make sure. But the moment that is, that we actually do, let's say that even if the letter hasn't been sent out, we'll just resend it and we'll go through the whole process. I wouldn't say that I'm necessarily optimistic about getting a response back. Once those notice requirements are done though, that building can be demolished. But again, that's furnished by the city and then the payment, the debt goes to the property owner. So let me check in on that, make sure that it was sent. I was almost positive Mike or I sent it, but
Look around September 2nd.
that's what it would have been.
Because that's my email. Okay.
But other than that, Greg, that's all I have.
Any other questions? I would like to set up another cemetery committee meeting to discuss the issues, or discuss the items we started to at the last meeting that I presented. So, does anybody have any suggestions?
Very easy.
Tomorrow?
Tomorrow we have an all-day training for GIS. The 15th or 16th or 17th would be good times for me. Any time of the day or evening.
$16?
16th,
What about you?
I have a couple of doctor's appointments that week, but I don't remember what day they were.
you want to get back with me, and then I can send out an email to the committee, and
I can do that.
move that forward.
I think I can do any of those days, so.
Okay. The contractor with well 5 projects moving forward. We did get the transmission line between well 1 and pump station tested and back in service. They're working up the canyon right now, installing the transmission main and the distribution main for well 5. They're running into some pretty good frost, so it's going a lot slower than what they had anticipated, so.
You know, the Humane Society is very thankful that they're able to still get there.
Well, they do have an access between us and the cat house. We did open up the fence and make sure they could get through one way or another, so. We are moving the culvert over to the soccer field, as Councilman Vaughn, in preparation to get that put in before they start soccer. Whatever we don't, if we don't have the boxes by the time soccer starts, then we'll wait till after their season's over to finish the project. South Summit, Delaware and Cedar, or not Delaware, South Summit Oak and Cedar line. Tentatively, we're planning on starting that project April 24th. So that project will move forward. We have given the notice to proceed. We're going through the submittals right now for that one. As far as annual things, CCR questionnaire has been submitted to Energy Labs to get our CCR printed up for this year. Other than that, unless somebody else has any questions on it. The cemetery. We are moving forward with the current cemetery expansion. I don't remember how many graves they'll give us. We're looking at funding, looking at our funding for the cemetery to find some money for sod. So we can't open those grave sites up a little sooner than later. We were planning on planting grass, but that's going to take a year to get going. Sod's going to be way quicker. I'm looking at prices for that right now. So
I think per the cemetery committee meeting, it was $10.64 for graves. That'd be a lot better than 45.
that would. That also includes moving the work building and opening up the other area as well. So
yeah. So a little bit
current expansion. I don't remember exactly how many there is. I think there's like 700 some. So.
Stay healthy, don't die.
Have to start planting vertically.
Anything else?
Mayor, that's all I have. Unless somebody has any questions.
Any questions? Moving on to Police Chief Chuck Bowles.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll first go over the calls for service that we've had. The Weston County Sheriff's Department, year to date is 161, and month to date is 38. For the City Police Department, it's 238 and 49. For Upton Police Department, 72 and 19. For the Newcastle Ambulance, 53 and 13. For the Upton Ambulance, 4 and 1. For the Newcastle Volunteer Fire Department, 11 and 2. Upton is 3 and 0. And the Weston County Fire is 117 and 30. For year to date for everything is 659, and month is 152. I have a couple things here. One is there's 2 experienced officers I'd like to hire. The first one is Derek Thompson. He has about 14 years of law enforcement experience. Several were at the Sheriff's Department. And he has 3 as a sergeant here in Weston County. He's a firearms instructor, field sobriety instructor, DRE, which is drug recognition expert, and he's a school safety instructor, as well as a field training officer also. So if we hire somebody who doesn't have any police experience, then he can train them to be an officer. I would like to bring him on as a sergeant to help me with administrative duties and getting the department where we need to be, and also being a first line supervisor for road and patrol activities. I would like to have his starting wage at $27 an hour, which is comparable to what the last sergeant at the police department was being paid. And then the second one is Kelly Moran. She's currently a part-time officer for us. She used to be a full-time officer. She ended up moving away and quitting because she was having some kids and wanted some more family time, and they moved away. So she's moving back, and let's see, about a month or so ago, she filled in some midnights for us, and I was impressed with her ability, and I think she'd be a good fit for the department. With her experience, I would like to start her at $23 an hour.
Now, Moran did work for us before she moved. What I like is that neither one of these need to go to the academy.
Yeah.
They can get sworn in and start, and they don't need any FTO training. They already know our area. So I'm 100% supportive, and I'm supportive of the pay rate, and also we do need to put them on a year probation as well.
For starting times, Derek, I would like to start him on the 14th of this month, and Kelly, we're have a tentative date of March 1st.
Is she still a reserve officer right now?
Yes.
She is.
Well, I move we do just what he said. I couldn't repeat all that.
So, okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion and second. Any further discussion? So Kelly Moran, $23 an hour, a year probation starting the 1st of March, tentatively. And then Derek Thompson coming in as a sergeant at $27 an hour starting on February 14th. Year probation.
And Kelly's just an officer.
Correct.
Not just, but I
Sounds.
Okay,
I
any
didn't
other,
mean just.
any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay. You're hired.
Thank you. One other thing, I've looked into some new vehicles for the police department. I've located one business, it's down in Indiana, and they outfit police vehicles. That's what they do. And they lease the vehicle to the city for 4 years. After those 4 years, there's $1 per vehicle that you pay, and the vehicle is yours. The cost for 2 vehicles was right around $100,000. They'll break that up over the 4 years. Couple benefits for the city is we would not have to pay for a year after we picked it up. So for 1 year, it won't really cost the city anything except, we can prepare for budgets to start paying for those 4 years. A couple things I like about it is, they outfit the vehicles every day. They're professionals at doing it. We will get top of the line equipment in the vehicle, and it will be set up the way that officers can use it, and will help them patrol. So I would like the council's blessing on moving forward and looking into this. It won't be on this budget, but it would be next year's budget.
I know the company you're talking about is what one of our reserve officers informed us about, and they said it's the way to go because of what he said. I mean, you're getting everything in it, no questions asked, detailed with our logo and ready to go.
I think that we were already budgeted for like something like $60,000 for a new car. So if we're getting 2 for 100, and we're not having to pay on them for
Are
a
they gonna
year.
be, the SUVs or the?
I had them give me a quote on Dodge Durangos. The Tahoes, they're V8s, so we're gonna be using more money in gas. I don't think there's much difference in the two vehicles. The Dodge Durangos were a lot cheaper compared to the Chevy Tahoes.
So we'll get with you on how to spec out your request, but we will still have to do the bid process. So, who can show them how to do that? Or do you want me to? To send out to send out what it is that they're absolutely wanting, for the others to bid.
I'll have to price it with you another time.
Okay. We'll get together and get that, so we can go out for bidding.
Very good.
When you do those, when you're writing your bid specs in that, you can write the bid specs to meet that particular place that you're wanting to specialize in. And we do that with fire trucks and too. We spec our trucks out to meet certain specs. And I know some companies that can't meet the specs for that, so they can't really bid to that spec. So, but you're having to bid it out to everyone, have a fair competition.
Right.
Anything else?
That's all I have.
Now, does that work the same on a lease versus a purchase?
That's what we were talking
I
about.
think it's
originally.
$35,000.
And then you can lease at 0 down for 12 months?
Well, it would be for 48 months.
You want a police car? We'll give you that. I don't know if it'll help with towing a car, but.
We're hiring officers.
I don't know, I might be in a hurry.
But yeah, we'll get together. But with it being, the amount of it being over 30, 35,000, we still have to do the bidding process. Okay. All good? Any questions for Chief? All right, moving on to City Attorney Douglas Hughes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think all I had was actually the Ackley House, so nothing to report.
And we'll go over should we send you comments on the agreement?
Yeah, just so that I can have it drafted up to whatever it was, because it's pretty boilerplate for the EMS agreement. Just from there, basically, then we can actually put it forward and have everyone take a good look at it.
Especially when they're here on the 21st.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any questions for City Attorney Hughes?
Yes. Have you looked into the sale of the city lot?
So we haven't gotten to that yet. I think Dad and I were basically planning on doing that after this week. We had a deposition and then a summary judgment motion, which is always a fun thing to write. But I'll be getting back in touch with you over that here shortly, so it shouldn't take too long.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Moving on to City Clerk Treasurer Stacy.
I just want to thank the council support for the city hall wages. Thank you. And I have nothing else to report.
Any questions for Stacy? Any standing committee reports? I think we kind of discussed those up above. Any other business? Okay, then can I get a motion to?
1 second, Madam Manager. I'd like to request a 5-minute recess before we go into executive session.
Okay, so let's make a motion to have a recess for 5 minutes and go into executive session.
Okay, I move that we take a 5-minute recess and then go into executive session.
Please state the
It would be
Paragraph.
for Wyoming statute 16-4-405 AII personnel. So we have a second.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, we will resume executive session at 9:10.
All those in favor?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign.